Dude, you can automate so much stuff now with content creation, stuff like Adobe Premiere. I don't know if you guys use that very much, but you can do like auto captions now, which is really cool.
That's handy.
So yeah, because like generally those videos and the short form stuff, they're going to do way better if you have captions. And with Adobe, it's like maybe like a 3-minute process, and it just automates everything. You may have to go in and change things. It may get some words wrong, but it's a really easy process now. And now with AI, it's like, yeah.
Kyle and I've been watching this YouTube videos, and basically they tell sci-fi stories, and oftentimes they're written on Reddit. So what the content creator, if you call him that, does is he copy pastes this big Reddit story into something and then has AI read it to you. But AI reading isn't like it was 10 years ago. It's pretty compelling.
Pretty good. Yeah,
it's pretty good.
99%.
99%. Every so often they'll pronounce like, Finnish just to like Phoeniciated, but most of the time it's good. And so now AI is reading you the story pretty well. The captions are there, which helps too. And they're right 98% of the time also. And then they use AI to generate a picture that's like kind of sort of related, like, I don't know, human
close enough
with blue eyes. So you're just watching this thing and it's like, man, I bet this video took the creator a minute and a half of like human time to like kick off these processes, have an AI generated image, AI generated voice, AI generated captions, upload it to YouTube. And the videos are getting a few thousand views, enough to make like $30. And I'm like, shit, you build a little library of this stuff and you've got a business.
Yeah.
There's whole content farms of AI creators now that are getting, especially with YouTube Shorts, they're getting tons of traction. I don't know if you guys have you guys seen the genre of the subgenre of YouTube videos where it's Batman helping young men with their porn addiction?
No, I was really hoping he was like I was hoping he was gonna try on girls too, but continue about Batman. I watch girls try on their panties.
Just look up Batman gives you advice quitting porn, and there's a whole genre where it's like a Gotham City, and it's nighttime, and Batman's kind of perched on top of like a gargoyle, and there's rain, and his voice will just be like, "You are strong, you can do this. You have value." And it's like 30 minutes of Batman encouraging men to like give up porn.
This is a terrible genre. I want somebody else to come in, maybe the Joker, and help me.
1 million views.
Find better porn.
Huge. It's a huge like a lot of incels kind of do this kind of stuff.
Is this like NoFap? Is that what this is? This so you can keep your NoFap going?
Yeah, but
Taylor, so go to YouTube and search Batman gives you advice to stop porn. Just type something like that, and it's Batman standing in his like costume in the rain and the darkness, and then AI Batman voice going, "You are strong."
4 million views. Batman talks to you about NoFap.
You are an individual, not influenced by what is around you. You are the rock the river flows around. It does not shape you. You shape it. I'm making
honestly, I could see a world where if you're so addicted to masturbating, you fall into watching Batman videos telling you not to. It probably is good to take a break. Like you probably should, if you're that far.
If you had to bring Batman in,
if you have to bring, can you imagine like Kyle, if you had a problem with eating too many burgers and you were watching Peter Griffin motivate you with an AI voice?
I'm sure
like, that's insane, Kyle. But you're on the right path in a way.
No, I'm sure there's Batman AI.
Convince people to jerk off. That'd be hilarious.
That's amazing. I'm sure there's Batman AI to help. I'm sure there's Batman AI to help with overeating. Like it's a whole.
That would be funny.
The movie Her was quite prescient. Like that was like it was science fiction at the time, but it was it's really not too far off from where we're currently at. Did you guys see that movie Her? Spike Jonze.
It has Joaquin Phoenix in it, right?
Yeah, real good.
I think we're really close to getting like some sort of weird personal like relationship bot that's like
they exist. They exist.
Where they marry the real girl with like the best AI. What is it? What's the best AI called? I saw they gave them all an IQ test. They should give them all an EQ test.
Is it Chat GPT?
No, it's like fourth or something like that, or fifth. There was something. It's like a man's name and then a numeral. There was like Carlos 2 and now it's Carlos 3 or some shit.
There was the recent debacle with like black Nazis. Did you guys see that?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, I saw
that was with Google's,
man.
right? Google's AI.
Yeah.
Oh man, they yanked it like they're like, okay, we're gonna put this on the shelf for a little bit.
Yeah, there was. So I forget whose AI was before that. It might have been ChatGPT, but they sort of didn't do woke quite well enough. Where if you were to say like, describe or make a picture of a burglar, like they'd all be black, and make a picture of an. It wasn't efficient. It was like I don't know, a productive person, and they're all like white guys in business suits. And they're like, this is coming off kind of racist if burglars are black and productive people are white guys in business suits. And then, of course, Google went too far the other way where they're like, show me a founding father. And it's like a black guy or something.
Well, all the AI is like woke as fuck. They can't like Grok too. Like there was a period
That's the
where
Elon Musk one, right? Grok?
Yeah, but there was a period where like right wing media pundits were asking Grok, am I racist? Or like, like let's say it was Tim Pool. So Tim Pool would go like, is Tim Pool racist? And then Grok would be like, wow, that's a good question. And like Elon's AI was like calling all of these people racist. And so they were getting pissed at him. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see how, I think Grok only takes data from Twitter. I could be wrong. So
really?
I don't know.
Where are most of them scrubbing from? Like,
I think it's everything. I think
it's just the whole internet. Like,
I think anything.
Did you guys see Congress voted to ban TikTok?
Let's go.
They voted.
Which part of Congress? How much of Congress?
I think the House, and I think they got 80% of the votes.
Yeah,
so now
which is
Senate.
Which is bananas. Let me talk about that a little bit because, like, dude, the Republican-led House can't approve like basically a Republican border immigration bill. I can't recall in my life, I'm sure it happens, but like the last time any notable legislation got 80% of the vote.
9/11 shit.
Okay. But usually they get
anytime it's giving money to Israel.
The
3
first
defectors to come over, something like that. And if it's bipartisan, it's 49 Democrats and 4 Republicans or something like that. That's what they call bipartisan. 80% of people agreed to get rid of TikTok. And
that's ridiculous.
And Biden said he'd sign it like last week.
Biden said he would sign it. Yeah.
So it's not technically like a strict ban. It's they want to divest. They want TikTok to divest themselves of their Chinese ownership.
To be fair, that's exactly right. And what that means is that the owners of TikTok will have 2 options. 1, allow their product to now be worth billions of dollars less, or B, sell their product to someone else, let the servers be somewhere else. And that's what they're going to do. So they're going to sell. Knowing that they're probably going to sell, how do you invest, Woody? Do you invest in their competitors or do you bet against them in the future?
Shit, I feel like with almost every social platform, the move is not to invest. Like really? What are you going to invest in? MySpace?
The president's about to take a bite out of their fucking milk.
It's already like the boomerville of Facebook is what now? Marketplace? Some jackass boomers talking about Trump and
Meta.
I think Facebook is still, it's replaced every forum. So if you're into fish tanks, motorcycles, this, that, the other thing, you find yourself on Facebook to find people with common interests.
Sure.
But Facebook is like moving into the rearview mirror, right? Someday,
so where do we watch
Instagram
our shorts spin the future if TikTok doesn't do it anymore?
Exactly. I guess.
Well, Steve Mnuchin is trying to put some funding together to buy TikTok. That was Trump's Treasury Secretary, and he also he was a movie producer. He produced like Batman v Superman and shit.
So Trump was against this. Trump says leave TikTok alone because he met with this billionaire investor of TikTok and reversed his position. He's for sale. Yeah. And now Trump is trying to protect TikTok, which is a reversal.
Yeah, I'd rather see TikTok not get banned. Like it's better to have banned. More out there. It could be though.
Direction.
I just told you what's going.
But if the topic is what would we want? I think I'm with Taylor. I don't understand the danger.
Okay, well,
China's gonna figure out that I think fucking shorts are funny.
Yeah, a bunch of people can say stuff.
I think a lot of the pundits on the other side of this would say that China intentionally runs different algorithms here than at home because they're trying to brain rot America Meanwhile, if you look at TikTok in their country, you might learn how to do your geometry homework better. Here, you'll watch divisive things. You'll watch like race baiting things. You'll watch all sorts of politically charged stuff that really make the country less cohesive when it's the most popular app on everybody's fucking phone.
I'm not going to watch your geometry app, Kyle. You can't make me. I'll find a way to brain rot somewhere else.
Listen to this. Kyle wants you to be doing fucking math, people. He wants you to do math on your phone.
My TikTok would be the best of both worlds. You'd figure out the circumference of titties. All right? Why would teach you how to measure cup sizes with geometry?
Okay, you're winning me over.
Okay, but everybody here would, I assume everybody here would agree that China is an adversarial country, right?
Yeah,
yeah.
Is there no concern amongst any of you guys that an adversarial country can send 200 million Americans a push notification anytime they want on an app that they ban in their country? Like, you can't go on TikTok in China. You need the Chinese version.
I hear your point, but I have a counterpoint.
Restricting
what if I were to say that having open trade deals is critically important with your adversarial countries? The thing that prevents people from going to war is it ruins business. And if you have, like, I don't know, trade going back and forth like U.S. and China does, that will stop wars.
Well,
powerful
we can keep
people
trading.
will make sure it doesn't happen.
I'm going to keep buying the fucking TVs and the tables and the lumber and their bad steel, but they don't get to run their propaganda arm anymore.
That's what that's the point.
Like, it's just, what do you prioritize more? Are you more afraid of China sending a push notification to people, or do you prioritize higher, which I would, like the ability of Americans to use an app that they want and have speech on it?
The problem is that it's asymmetrical. So without this ban, you have America allowing this company with a substantial Chinese Communist Party interest to operate freely in the United States to tune their algorithm. Now, I'm not alleging like that they're deliberately tuning their algorithm, but I'm just saying, like, it's not unfathomable.
We do it to them.
And it was no, but we don't, though, because they don't allow, you can't go on Twitter in China. You can't go on Facebook in China.
No, I'm not talking about that specific. Trump allowed a CIA operation starting in the second year of his term that was this vast propaganda influencing campaign on their internet to destabilize them and make their government look bad in their people's eyes. If you don't think they're doing the exact same thing, but they don't need to with TikTok. I mean, why wouldn't they?
It wouldn't. I guess it wouldn't shock me. Where are you getting this? Trump CIA?
I think it's Reuters. Is it Reuters?
Routers. Trump CIA.
It's routers.
It's routers.
China.
I was on routers.
Yeah, but I would rather see them not ban app that a lot of Americans speak on.
Oh, this just came out today, actually. Trump launched CIA covert influence operation against China. That's interesting. I want to look into that later. But I mean, like, do you guys understand just kind of broadly why there would be serious concerns? Like, if you were looking to, say, destabilize Western nations by undermining faith in institutions and democracy broadly, you can see how having a substantial interest in a major social media platform, the number one social media platform for young people in this country, you could see how that could be easily problematic and huge. I really
acknowledge your concerns and agree that they're valid. I still have a hard time getting past this foundational idea that trade between nations prevents war.
What percentage of trade is TikTok, though, Woody? I don't think it's any.
Well, but piece by piece, right? First, we banned TikTok, then they stopped the sale of iPhones, and then we retaliate by doing something else, and then suddenly they're not letting Fords be sold in China because we're going to track their movements. And
please. That's the best trade ever. Both of them? We don't get to sell either of those F-150s? How many Fords do they import? It cannot be many.
I get that it's not a big thing. I'm just trying to come up with examples where, bit by bit, trade gets eroded away. That example, you would find tariffs on our stuff, and yet peace remains. You know what I mean? Like I feel like you can't. Tariffs are different than bans.
I feel like it's a tough economic policy, a trade policy, and this is no different. We're not telling them we're not confiscating TikTok, which is what we probably should do. We should fucking just take it from them, because why not? That's what we do. We're saying, hey, you got to divest. That's not cool.
Is China involved in BRICS? Is China the C in BRICS?
They're the C.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know. Like I can understand if you're like a young person and TikTok's your main thing, and I do understand kind of like being wary of giving government too much control over social media platforms. It is a bit different because it's not like the United States government has the same level of influence over like Twitter and Facebook than China has over TikTok or China has over their own social media platforms. Like the Twitter files, what did they reveal ultimately?
I think they definitely do. They lean on social media companies all the time. I don't think it's fair to say that's comparable to communist China. Like in communist China, you cannot be a TikTok influencer. And like here in the United States, half of TikTok is people criticizing the United States. You can't do that in China. You can't like make a video criticizing Xi Jinping or Chinese policy when it comes to like the
Hutch's point. Half of Twitter is people criticizing the United States.
Yeah, you can be like Hassan Piker and make millions of dollars selling America bad to like 18-year-olds, and you can do that. You can be
promoted to the front of Twitch and stuff like that. We're doing it. Yeah,
but you cannot do that in Russia. You cannot do that in China. So I do think like when we look at like the Twitter files, what did we see? We saw like government were they requests or they were like government requests to like, hey, we think this post is problematic or whatever. And what we found out was like 75% of the time Twitter was saying no. 25% of the time they were doing it, and it had to do with like COVID policy and election disinformation. Like the Trump administration, for example, asked Twitter to take down a Chrissy Teigen tweet that called them a pussy ass bitch. Like that,
pretty mean.
And
that is pretty mean. Did they?
But it's funny.
They said
they
no.
Leave that one up.
In China,
I'd leave it up too.
They don't do requests. They just take that shit down. So there's a huge, I think, difference.
Wait, who was called a pussy ass bitch?
Trump.
Oh,
Chrissy Teigen called him a pussy ass bitch, and the administration reached out to. There's like an email where the administration reached out to Twitter and they asked.
I still don't know who
some
that
of the
is.
stuff that they took down in the last election cycle violated Twitter's policies, like against porn and stuff like that.
Do they have policies against porn?
They have policies against
revenge porn. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, that's not porn then. That's something else. They shouldn't
Don't judge my porn habits.
With the TikTok thing though, like don't you you want Americans to be able to, maybe they can't share certain beliefs on Facebook that they're allowed to on TikTok.
Well, dissent is really important, I think, especially for liberal democracy. It's like the bedrock. It's like the First Amendment, like the constitutional right to redress grievance against your government. That's obviously like you don't want to stifle that. I don't know if TikTok, like I wouldn't consider TikTok in the same category as like Twitter or Facebook. You can do that on Twitter. You can do that on Twitter. You can criticize the government. You can do whatever the fuck you want, essentially.
Yeah. What they're asking TikTok to do will not stifle TikTok's free speech. It will ensure that maybe the CCP isn't writing the algorithm there, though. That's all they're going for.
These are not reliable. These are not reliable partners for like Western interests. Like the Chinese Communist Party have a 50-year, 100-year plan in terms of global.
It's not going well for them lately, though. It's been fun.
Well, the real estate fucked them up. They had like a big old real estate bubble over there, and it's pretty bad right now. But
I don't think they're over COVID.
Are they not?
I think
I know it bounced back.
COVID,
and I just assumed it had settled. I'm sorry.
And I think economically as well. And also I know this stuff that's going on with the Houthis. Apparently that really doesn't bother the Israelis. What bothers is maybe a few Israeli oligarchs who own shipping companies. They're like, no. But
they're not just going after Israeli ships. They're going after anybody who shows up in there.
Exactly. And that's why it's a problem for Europe and China, because that's where that's the trade between Europe and China goes through.
That's a hugely important shipping lane.
Yeah, for China.
I think the Likud party has been pretty.
I like seeing Europe do poorly
outspoken about the Houthis, right? Like it's not just like Israeli bureaucrats. Like it's the main party in power. Netanyahu's party.
Well,
there's a problem with it.
Well, the Houthis are.
China spoke out against the Houthis. Nobody likes the Houthis.
Well, I mean, Iran likes
the Houthis in Iran. They're like like this, but
Hamas.
North Korea loves them.
I feel like Hamas very openly at this point acknowledged that they in part did what they did on October 7th because they were trying to draw in outside forces and turn it into a larger regional Hezbollah and more Iranian proxies.
Hezbollah is whoever runs Hezbollah. That's a smart cookie, as Trump would say, because he didn't do shit. You know all his like well, okay, I'm sure they financed them and they influenced them, but whoever the guy who flies that Hezbollah flag, not an Iranian flag. That guy who's in charge of it decided not to get involved.
There was some fighting in the north, like southern Lebanon and northern Israel, but like they certainly didn't. The Hamas was not successful ultimately in turning it into something much bigger. I guess the idea is that for the Abrahamic Accords and the normalization between Saudi Arabia and Israel, Hamas felt like, okay, we need to pop the fuck off because it's kind of now or never.
Yep.
But it fucking sucks because now they're just so much further away from a Palestinian state, and it's not like the Palestinian people in Gaza have a say in terms of like military operations.
Yeah, they're just getting destroyed every single day.
Somebody challenged me the other day to solve that thing. It took me 15 minutes. Solve the whole fucking thing.
Really?
You gotta have it. Fill me in. So a two-state solution is going to be non-negotiable. But here's the thing. Here's what will make everybody happy. You know that maybe it's off the coast of the UK. They call it Sealand or something. It's like the world's smallest country. They just got a little platform out there.
Sure.
That's where the Palestinians go. And look, here's the thing. We, the United States, just sent a boat out of Virginia, and they're heading to, you would guess it, Israeli waters. They're going to build them a pier so that we can more readily give them things.
I think we should. I think it should be left up to chance entirely.
Build a couple of oil rig platforms out there. Set them up with some tents.
When you say leave it up to chance, if like the current like pressure that the Biden administration and other international forces are putting on Israel is to not permanently occupy Gaza. So like if Trump wins in 2024, for example, it's pretty obvious that he's going to give Netanyahu like the full green light just to annex Gaza. And then it's like, I don't know, maybe Egypt is just forced to take in refugees. Like, I don't know how that's going to.
They won't. No, it would be Europe that would be forced to take them, or us probably, right? Because Egypt has already stated they're not going to take any.
No, send them to fight in Ukraine. That's how
I was going to say,
for
like,
everyone.
Coin flip. Then all the head Jews and the head Palestinians have to be like, whatever the result of this is, we will abide. Loser of the coin flip, their whole group goes to Madagascar.
It has to be a two-state solution, but Netanyahu has to be ousted democratically, and Hamas, they can't remain in power. That's just not tenable, I don't think. Do you guys think, like, I don't know, do you guys think it's obviously a really complicated issue, but like, do you think that some level of force is justified in the pursuit of like disarming Hamas?
I mean, I think that I think the amount of force that Israel is showing is absurd, and that they are waging a destructive campaign against the Palestinian people right now. And that's clear by the video evidence.
Nazi.
And it's absurd. So
bigot.
Bigot, Nazi,
hate monger.
Hate monger. I don't think that we're gonna solve an issue, an ethnic
white
conflict
nationalist
1,000 years old, and so I don't want to be involved with Israel whatsoever or with Palestine. It's not our business. It doesn't help us to be involved. It makes us global foes the world over. It's negative. It costs $1 billion dollars, and it's
why 9/11 happened.
Taylor's pretty consistently isolationist, whereas I prefer the hypocrite route and choose battle by battle.
Yeah, I said the same thing about Ukraine and Russia. I don't care what the Ukrainians and Russians
because I'm the guy that likes the United States to have its fingers in all the pies. When I see those Pacific fleets start sailing out, spreading out, taking control of entire regions. When I watch those YouTube videos about how much firepower like this boat or that boat has, I like that shit. I like that the world runs on dollars, and people can pretend like they're going to switch to something else all they want. They won't.
Well, a lot of people call that like American imperialism. Like, I don't know if you guys have ever seen like that bullshit. Have you guys seen the bullshit map?
We should take Mexico.
I haven't seen the bullshit map.
There's a bullshit map that goes around online where it's like an American flag where like every American military bases in the world, except it's like clearly bullshit because they have like bases in Iran and stuff. It's like, wait, what the fuck? But
those are really
like, and I
they don't know about those.
I used to look at it the same way for a really long time. But the only country I think that doesn't want American bases in their country is Cuba. I think, and then everybody else, like we work closely with the Somalian government to like help them deal with their problem with terrorism, and like there's no country that like is pissed that America has a military base like in their backyard.
Does Haiti have any? They could use a few.
I mean, Russia doesn't like it.
They keep asking, but we keep saying no.
You're not blaming NATO for the Russian invasion, are you?
No, I was saying that's why Russia justified it. Is they're saying that Putin said we don't want military bases in our border in Ukraine, and then we're like, we're going to do it. And
they also
was like, well, fuck
they're liberating Ukraine from the Nazis that run them.
Yeah, I'm not defending Russia.
Yeah.
I'm saying like that's their rationalization for it. Like Putin did say years ago, like I'm going to do something if you try and do this.
My goal was to discredit Russia because I think the reality is nothing. What the reality is and what they say are completely unrelated. The real reason they took Ukraine is they wanted the land, they wanted the breadbasket, they wanted the warm water course.
He was surprisingly transparent in his interview with Tucker Carlson. Like he was very surprisingly transparent, where he just pretty much came out and said, like, that we have a historical right to this land.
Dude, that guy is obsessed with Russian history. Don't get in a debate with him about 800s leaders of Russia.
I don't know. I don't understand. I don't know why that's surprising to anybody. It would be surprising to me if Biden couldn't. Well, if younger Biden couldn't regale you about the founding fathers in great length. You know what I mean?
If we made our presidential candidates list our existing presidents? That would be so funny.
You can't because it's not like your wheelhouse. It's not the world that you've existed in for 45 years. For him, it'd be like you not knowing about chlorination and versus saltwater pools or some shit.
Right.
like you know.
Yeah.
Well, the founding father of the saltwater pool, Ergen Meyer, born from humble beginnings in East Pennsylvania. Like you probably know that kind of shit. Like,
well, Putin had a very interesting take on history at a couple points where he was talking about Poland. Like he basically was like, well, Poland basically forced the Nazis and the Russians to come in and carve up the country. And so he's very like openly said that the biggest political catastrophe of the 20th century was the disillusionment of the Soviet Union. So like, it's pretty clear like what his goals are. I don't know. What's really wild is
get one cat.
There's like a lot
project
of
with the egg at school.
There's a lot of discourse right now where like a lot of times when a big movie comes out, there's a lot of like really stupid discourse online about it. And the stupid discourse about Dune right now is there are people that are they think that the Fremen are meant to represent Palestinians, and so they're like, but if you know where the story of Dune is going, that is not. Do
they know it's a book written in the 50s?
It does not reflect well on Palestinians were a thing in the 50s, but like Frank Herbert wrote this book to warn against like charismatic leaders. He said, like, for example, Frank Herbert was like a libertarian. He was like a libertarian like climate advocate. So you could be that in the 70s. It was kind of like a hippie thing. But he said one time that he thought the most dangerous politician of the 20th century was John F. Kennedy. Because everybody was just like so impressed by him, and they just kind of like went along, and then that led to Vietnam. But he wrote he wrote the Dune stuff specifically, like he had Mao and Stalin in mind when it came to Paul, and but yeah, so like there's just a bunch of stupid discourse about that movie right now.
They're not they can't just enjoy the movie.
Is that what you're saying?
They got to try and launder their own like pet projects through the movie. They can't just be like, this is cool.
Well, the same thing with Star Wars. That's the U.S. and Vietnam. That's the U.S. is the evil empire, and Luke Skywalker and the boys. They're the Vietnamese, and maybe the fucking Buddhist monk burned himself alive as the Jedi. I don't know, but that's what was going on then.
Well, he didn't self-immolate in protest of the war. Did you know that? He was protesting actually something else at the time. He was
protesting that he got caught releasing documents, and he was like, while I burn myself to avoid these document charges, I think I'll yell Free Palestine.
Oh, that guy. Wait, he was...
No, he's talking about the guy who self-immolated. The other guy, the guy from 60.
Well, I was originally talking about Buddhist monks in Vietnam, but there was that guy, that Air Force guy who self-immolated like a week or two ago.
And they were celebrating him. Like there were like this like bunch of like going back to TikTok, a bunch of like TikTok Zoomers were like lionizing this guy. And there was this whole thing where H3 was he was saying like I don't think it's good to glamorize suicide, which I think is the correct take.
I didn't even think of it from the suicide thing because it's a different kind of suicide. And like I think suicide when you're looking for a way out or whatever, you really need to like explore some other fucking options. It's an awful thing. However, suicide for an ideal is a different thing.
Dude, though, when you look through his old Reddit posts, this dude was fully radicalized, like full.
No shit.
Yeah, he burned himself alive.
There's a hot take.
Yeah, he was radical. I would say I'm gonna go so far as to say too radical.
I got my hot take joke. All right.
maybe it's a bit redundant.
Fire tonight.
But he was he was just full on. Like, I guess it's just there's a lot of people where their whole political philosophy is centered on America bad, and then everything springs from that. And so you just become fully indoctrinated.
Was a hoax, Hutch?
What's up?
The Reddit thing is. Did you read shortly following?
No. So there was one specific post that was doctored, but you can't like you can go to like archived. They deleted his account, so you can't go to Reddit itself to see it. But there's an archived version of his logs, and you can just read everything that he was typing, and it was just it was apparent that he was just fully I think he tacitly endorsed October 7th, for example.
Oh, a lot of people
did. I did see that.
Yeah, a lot of people like just straight up outwardly did it on Twitter. It was funny to see like random rappers get in trouble. Rappers politics is one of my new favorite things because it's a lot more right wing and radical than you'd ever think. Like I feel it's
right wing.
Lady rappers are super radical. They're celebrating October 7th and stuff like that. The male rappers, a lot of those dudes are right wing. A lot of those guys are Trump guys.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of like there's obviously a lot of like free Palestine stuff with like younger artists right now.
Yeah.
I think like it's so tough because it's like obviously I think most people, I would assume all of you guys believe that the Palestinians deserve their own state and autonomy and dignity and all that, but sure. I don't, when I get up to the line of like Hamas good, that's where I'm like, no, I'm not with you on that one.
Well, that's absurd.
I mean, we've got so much land in the Midwest. I was thinking, Taylor, that we could get all them Palestinians and just give them like Wyoming. Like we're not doing shit up there. North Dakota.
Get to the flyover states.
It is not.
We even use those.
We'll flip a coin. We'll give them one of the Dakotas. Dude, problem? Do you know what a resource the Palestinian people could be? Look, now you don't realize this, Taylor, but first world nations are clamoring to get first pick at the Palestinian people. There's a lottery system right now, and a lucky few First Nations are going to get,
lucky few.
Taylor, it's said that if you take all the Hamas and put them in St. Louis, that the murder rate will go down.
I don't know. We could try it.
Did you guys see that this conflict and the discourse around it like ended the H3 Hassan?
I really don't know anything about those guys.
You're not plugged into them at all.
Not trying to stay away from that sort of thing.
What happened? Were they friends and now they're not, or is the
they did a podcast together for I want to say like 2 years. It's called The Leftovers, and it was a really interesting cultural kind of like online cultural moment to watch that friendship sort of disintegrate over time because it started to fray during like a conversation about like capitalism versus communism stuff. And what had happened was like H3 had, whether intentionally or unintentionally, cultivated through his partnership with Hassan, cultivated like a really left-wing audience, like a hammer and sickle, like we need to like destroy capital kind of like audience. And they started to like have this like disagreement where Ethan was like willing to say, there's plenty of flaws with capitalism. There's a lot of gaps. There's a lot of poverty, but I'm just not with you with the whole like Chinese kind of stuff, like or like full on hammer and sickle stuff. And then like a few months later, it culminated this fracture of their friendship with the Palestinian Israeli conflict because Ethan is a dual citizen. Like he has citizenship in Israel. He has family in Israel,
and so
girl
is Israeli, right? Also as dual. Yeah.
And so a lot of Ethan's audience were, I mean, some of them were just full on like
like actually
celebrating October 7th, and so like Ethan was he was like saying like, look, I'm willing to tell you like what the Israelis have been doing to Palestinians for decades is wrong, and fuck Netanyahu and fuck the Likud party and fuck, the Israeli Palestinian, the treatment of Palestinians. But Hamas, like what they did is fucking not good. And then like a bunch of the audience were calling him like a racist, genocidal, apartheid supporter. And dude,
they call us that all the time. That they they don't mean it.
That just means hello in online talk.
Yeah, that's just howdy.
That's how they think.
It was an interesting kind of like, it was an interesting moment because it's just
for him to realize that's that's pretty awkward.
So there was a big schism in both of their audiences.
They don't do the podcast anymore, and it was just too much. Like there was like
free and open discussion had a limit for them. Yeah,
and that was a pretty big podcast. So to like walk away from that was like pretty significant.
You think the audience divided them mostly?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was the conflict and the audience. There's this thing called audience capture. Are you guys familiar with the concept of audience capture? It's like, so if you're like an influencer person and you cover politics or you cover cultural stuff, and you end up cultivating an audience over time, like you guys have cultivated kind of like a slightly more right-wing audience, I would say. Right. And, but like what happens with a lot of creators is they start to notice like, oh, well, I'll get, you either consciously or unconsciously know, like I'm going to get more engagement if I frame certain things this way or that way. And so there ends up being this sort of like extremism pipeline that happens, and then it gets to a point where the creator, they're not really being authentic with their thoughts. They're relaying what they think their audience is going to want to hear. So
Zach phrased it really well. Let me read it because it's interesting. Audience capture is a self-reinforcing feedback loop that involves telling one's audience what they want to hear and getting rewarded for it.
Yeah, and then they have to go further and further. So they're like, oh, when I'm talking about how awesome Stalin was, I get lots of likes and comments.
Well, see, it's people easy to get around that comrade. Though. We just always, one of us has to disagree, so that we're always on both sides. We literally are. It's very rarely that all three of us are like full. And
if we all agree, someone will jump on the other side.
Yeah, and then there'll be. If we all agree, there is at least a dissenting opinion from somebody. They're like, look, all right, I'll co-sign that. Yeah, but here's the thing about that. You need you have a little. You need disagreement.
Yeah, it's not so interesting to listen.
But here's where I think our show does it a lot in like the meanness, right? So this is a show where we laugh at people fighting cars and think it's hilarious at that mismatch, and then the audience turns that same spirit on us, and it's like, well, don't be surprised, fucknard.
Yeah, if we got hit in a parking lot, they would have no sympathy.
Exactly.
But that's because they're dumb. Because I don't think it's funny when people get hit by cars. I think it's funny when fat black women get mad at each other. One of them gets behind the wheel of her Intrepid, and the other one still continues to show the same amount of gusto in the physical altercation, despite the fact that said Intrepid is 4,200 pounds of killing machine.
Those women are like 0-31 against the Intrepid in all the videos Kyle sent me. Huge losing streak. I don't think they're going to turn the franchise around.
I have seen so many ladies get ran down by Chrysler 300s and it still tickles me to death. I love it. But I don't want to see just some poor pedestrian get hit. Like that thing in Nice, France, when that terrorist attack and people got ran over. That's not funny. That's horrific. But if you're like, you're not going to talk to me that way, what you going to do? Run me. And they're like,
right. Oh, did you get in your car? Well, I took off my high heel shoe. Let's go.
That's an actual video.
I'm familiar with this genre.
Oh, you haven't seen this? Basically, two people are in a conflict. Someone gets in a car, and the other person, rather than like running or taking cover behind a light pole, is like, I'm not afraid of your car. And I have a theory, like Kyle mentioned the race thing, but I think it's the sex thing. I think that sometimes women feel like they're not going to get hit because it doesn't happen to them very much. The punch in the mouth is a very extreme, uncommon route to take for girls.
Yeah.
So I
get hit in the mouth in 10 minutes. I go out there and say the wrong shit. I promise you. I go to Circle K, it'll go down.
It could happen with your friend. Like if you mouth off the Scott enough, then it might go that way. I don't know.
Say the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Man, your dog's
a little bit.
How you guys? Sorry, go on.
Oh, I'm gonna go ahead. You take over.
Go for it.
Well, no, I was just gonna ask you guys, like, how? Because you guys don't seem to have gone down the audience capture route. Like, you seem to have like I feel like I'm talking to the same person I talked to like 8 years ago. How have you guys avoided the trappings of that? Do you just not I'm gonna guess that you don't look at like the comments or your replies very often.
Very rarely do I look at any
our
comments.
The only way I interact with fans is if they and it's is if they join our Patreon and they give us $50 a month, and then they join our Discord, and then I literally game with them all night and like shoot the shit with them. And the group of guys in there are awesome. I'll sort of lean on them for like if they thought a show was good or not. And sycophants that they are, they love everyone. They love everyone. They've never had a complaint, and they better not, because I'll stand. They know I will. I'm liberal with the band hammer. No, like, but it's the opposite though. Like I feel like they'll be like, "What happened there?" And I'm like, "Look, we didn't book that guy. I don't know who booked that guy.
We didn't know he was going to have a fried brain from the mushrooms. We didn't know. We just had him on.
Yeah, I like that guy.
Did you have somebody come on that was tripping balls?
Yeah, he wasn't at the time, but he had some.
We had a guest.
Or he probably was. I'm so naive.
So this guy touted himself as some sort of a shaman per se, and basically his story was that he had this awful experience where his wife, who was pregnant with his unborn child, died in a car accident that he caused. And it ruined him to the extent where he sought out psychedelics, more and more potent doses of them to sort of get over that trauma. And my take is that while doing that, he fried his brain. And so then he's got this new wife, and he told us that he's like, so at this point in my life, my wife was saying, I'm going to murder the children. I'm going to take the gun. I have the gun, and I'm going to murder the children. So then I went on one of my retreats to the Dominican Republic and did mushrooms with some guys. And when we got back, I talked to her and I had a whole new frame of mind. I'm paraphrasing, but it was basically that. And so I'm like, I'm doing this when I'm like, whoa, your wife said she was going to murder the children and she had the means, which means she's thought about this a good bit, went and gotten the gun. She has the gun, and you went to another country to do drugs. I love drugs and travel's fun, and I hate kids. But my take is that you're a piece of shit, dude. How do you leave your kids behind with a murderer who's telling, like, are you insane? I didn't go that hard.
You just went there?
I went a little bit softer than that, and it devolved quickly. I may have been rude to him. You know, I smoke every show, and I don't really remember these things too well. I
enjoyed it.
But I think I was pretty mean to him, and he deserved
one in
it.
every 30, 50 guests, Kyle will decide, I've had enough of this guy. I'm not interested in his return, so I'm going to lay it down.
Sometimes they'll just be fucking liars. Like there's one guy, look, I hate a fake badass. I'm not a badass. I don't want to get in a fight. I'm not good at it. I wouldn't be good at it if I tried. I'm not gonna pretend like I will be or
aren't you still ripped as fuck, or did that go away?
I beat the shit out of you, bro. I'd smoke you. See? Now you see like
my arm up. You can't. I'll just keep you back. I got the long arms. So
he's got reach.
I snapped those in half with my jiu-jitsu training. You know about the UFC I watch? I'm a real tough guy. I watch the UFC. I'm not. There are guys who are like what I'm like pretending to be. Right? There are those douchebags.
Yeah.
But we had a guy on who was like I can't remember what kind of badassery he was claiming he'd done, but he was like, yeah, my stepdad stabbed me, and I was like, oh, you stabbed me. And I ran away off into the woods, and sewed it up myself, and I think I just went, no, you didn't. It was like that. It was like in Billy Madison when he's like, me and her got it on, and Adam Sandler's like, no, you didn't. Yeah, but this guy I knew, him and her did the thing. He's like, no, they didn't. Yeah, but you can imagine what it'd be like if they did.
That's a solid 30-year reference right there.
Yeah.
Or what, 25-year reference? Yeah.
8% of our audience, according to my made-up statistics, got that one.
I've seen that movie.
It's a great movie. So he's claiming that he got stabbed and that he stitched himself. And I'm like, no, you didn't. No, you didn't. Show me the scar. Show me, bro. Show me where you got stabbed with a kitchen knife and pulled it out of your body and sewed it up yourself, because you fucking didn't. You fucking didn't.
Yeah. And that was absurd. But yeah, the mushroom one that's happened, Kyle will do that from time to time. But as far as like the audience retainer or whatever that was called, audience training,
audience capture. Yeah.
Like it was probably 5-6 years ago now. And it was actually a Sam Hyde clip that I saw that like changed my perspective on it. Cause I used to like read comments a lot more, forums, all that. And I saw a video from him that was like him talking about that. And obviously he's a big figure, a lot of people talking about him. And he was like, everyone knows how negative it is and bad for your psyche to like read bad things about yourself online. If you're a content guy, like that's negative. But he also made the point of like, it's also almost as sinister and bad to read positive things about yourself. Like the whole idea of like sitting there reading about yourself is going to breed in you like a sort of unintended narcissism in one way or the other that is going to change you as a person.
And by the same rationale, by the same rationale that you would say, don't read that negative stuff. They don't know you. Don't read that positive stuff. They don't know you.
Yeah.
They don't know how full of shit you were when you said that thing, or that you were being charitable just because you felt like you had to, or like they don't know the pressures that you're under, or like or any of that stuff.
Well,
so like
it's like it's like a house of cards. So like I heavily identify with that. Like early on in my like online career, dude, I was showered with fucking attention and praise nonstop. And I fucking bought into it, and I'm like reading every comment and it really didn't take long for me to realize like this is not like a foundation. Like your foundation needs to be like the relationships that you have with people in your life.
You could have done live event shows like chats with Hutch. Show up and pay $10 at this club in LA tonight, and people would have shown up. Like
and it was like super intoxicating in the beginning, but it really was like a year, 2 years where it was like it just fell apart. Like I need more than that, and so I started. That's when I kind of disappeared.
Did it turn negative on you, Hutch? Like, is that how you remember it?
It just wasn't the like I remember getting like really depressed towards the end of Machinima, and it was no longer work. It was like a drug that stopped working. It was like, I was in a position where I was like, okay, well, I have this hosting gig and I still have this like good job. Now they're paying me a lot better, but I'm just like miserable. And that became like an Inception idea where it just kind of went down from there. And so I kind of had to disconnect for like 6 months, and and it's like it's like an ebb and flow. Like, so like I came back and then I did some crazy shit, like got engaged after like a week of reconnecting with someone.
How'd that go?
So not great. Not great. I would not recommend it personally.
Good friend.
Even though they
talk about the Palestinian issue.
What's the winning position, Kyle? You're Biden right now.
Yes.
If I'm late, I have no idea what to do. I can't please everybody.
It's a no-win situation. Absolutely no-win situation.
What's the closest to a win you can manage? Kyle's good at this.
He's out there waist deep in the fucking bog right now. He already stepped in it, so to speak, but with his initial sort of inaction and then that sort of back and forth nonsense.
Well, you say inaction, but his administration were directly involved in negotiations for 2 previous ceasefires. So they've been very active with...
All I see is buildings and rubble and bodies and dead babies. And so if you tell me there was a ceasefire one day, they're like, oh, was that when they found the bodies, when they had the ceasefire? You know what I mean? Like, I'm not hearing it. I'm hearing dead babies.
Those fires are for making TikTok videos.
What I see is Biden who can't keep his dog on a leash. That's what I see. I see Biden... Okay. I see, and not only that, he's like patting him on the back a little.
He's not America's dog, though. He's not. Not.
He should be, though.
Well,
he should be.
They, like we do give him a substantial amount of money each. Well, we give them $3.5 billion each year, but that represents about 17% of their military budget. If we stopped all weapon transfers and financial aid tomorrow, they would still be going up.
No, they ran out of ammo.
Let's do it.
They would forge. You don't think that a country like China or Russia is going to try to step in immediately to fill that void? Like, for sure. So like, you can't, like, there's this idea that Biden can just literally force Israel to do whatever he wants them to do. And I don't think that's true at all.
I think he certainly can, because I think that Biden has, he's like, all right, well, I can do this with Saudi Arabia, or I can say this to Iran. We can change our stance on our defensive packs. You don't get the new Ares missile system. We're not going to bring our boats and provide you anti-air cover from all those drones that are coming from the Houthis. You know how many drones we shot down with our $13 billion fleet that we rolled up for him?
Are you talking about the Iron Dome right now?
No, I'm talking about the United States sent a fucking aircraft carrier fleet over there and parked there to carrier group and parked there and shot drones down for weeks, and they're still shooting them down.
Well,
I think they should be our dog because we give them tons of money. Look, I'm the most pro-Israel one here.
We get fucking nothing.
No, that's not true. That's not true.
We get hated by the world and embroiled in conflicts that we shouldn't be in.
Did you say we give them nothing?
No, we get nothing.
No, we have from it. Yeah. So first thing, they share that they're an intelligence partner with us. So they share their intelligence with us, which is huge. That's like not what did you do that, Woody?
Is it worth being the largest recipient?
I want something a little more concrete. Like I watched a YouTube video that was explaining that America exports security, and by that I mean like we spend a lot on our own military, and everyone in NATO knows that we'll protect them if shit goes wrong. And then in exchange, we get really hard to define, hard to monetize, hard to understand goodwill. I don't know what kind of trading that gets us, how much better Apple and Cisco and GE are doing because of this security export, but it seems like not a lot, that it's like an IOU that we get in exchange. So when I hear that they're a security or an intelligence partner,
that's just one aspect though. I mean,
I place very little value. Like their intelligence is not what the legends say it is. October 7th proves that. So like, I don't know, if Israel wasn't our intelligence partner, would there be any difference at all?
They had intelligence of October 7th. The problem is they were stretched too thin. They had diverted a lot of their troops over to the West Bank, and there was ineptitude when they were like reading the intelligence. And so it was like America. We had a heads up that September 11th was going to happen, and we had a similar kind of like lapse in intelligence where they just ignored the threat and it happened. And then some people think that Bush did 9/11, but it's not like America is helping this country or that country because we're this fucking altruistic pro-liberal democracy force. We don't do these things out of the goodness of our hearts. We do it because it benefits the national interest.
As much as I seek it out, though, I can't find where we're getting a good deal. Or how this works out for us. We spend
now you're sounding like Taylor. Are you
millions?
Yeah, the American people do not benefit from our relationship.
I have this strong sense of right and wrong that dictates my foreign policy. And that's why I'm pro-Ukraine, right? The Russians took over a country that didn't belong to them. They're raping the women. They're stealing the children, if that's true. But they definitely don't belong in Ukraine, right? I'm very suspicious of all the propaganda. I watch both sides and I don't know. Anyway, but I'm still pro-Ukraine, even though it doesn't benefit America, because I'm pro good guys, right and wrong, etc. In Israel versus Hamas, it's not as clear to me. I'd rather just let two assholes fight each other and stay away.
Well, I don't think we get anything beneficial to actual Americans here, like raising families and working jobs by supporting Ukraine or Israel in these insane ways. It's not beneficial. It's not helpful to us. It makes us enemies all over the world, particularly in the instance of Israel currently. Like it's not a net benefit for us. And I agree with Woody in that this ethereal promise of intelligence that we probably have a better version of already is not sufficient to be like, oh, well then, give them write a check for the house. American taxpayer money straight over.
I think you guys are underselling the importance of like sharing intelligence with our like global.
Are you doubting
partners?
my expertise in Israeli intelligence?
Wow. Like what do we really like? What have we concretely gotten from them that would make it worthy that they've been the largest recipient of foreign aid for the past 80 years?
Well, look at the region of the world, and then look at like who can we possibly. I mean, it's in America's interest to have international partnerships all over the world. To benefit our economic structure, to maintain stability, to maintain liberal democracy in countries all over the world. Like it's not just because we do it because we care. It's because it serves our interests. And when you look at that region, like like we have this kind of like tense friendship with Saudi Arabia now, maybe, but who else are we going to be partnering up with? Iraq, Iran, like Yemen, like Oman, like and so like just geographically. They're a very important foothold for American interests in that region. I'm not saying I just want to clarify. I'm telling you what I think like a foreign policy expert would say. I don't necessarily disagree that we're too entrenched in certain conflicts. I'm just saying that.
I wonder if Israel will be our friend a little cheaper, right? Taylor said they're the largest beneficiary of our foreign aid over the last so many years. I don't know. Is that true? Is that
by
right?
a lot? Yeah.
Okay.
Number two is Egypt, and the reason for that is we basically paid off Egypt to normalize relations with Israel, so it's almost tangentially related to that.
Cumulatively, it's been I can't say that word. It's been over a little over $200 billion that we've given them over the last several decades of.
Are you telling me Israel wouldn't be my friend for 50 billion? Like, did it have to be 200 billion? Did it have to be that outrageous? What about 10 billion? What if it was just some smaller number? I feel like we're getting a little bit hoodwinked on this terrible deal.
Yep.
Well, a lot of it.
They are good businessmen.
A lot of it is like boomer. When you talk to boomers, your average boomer, they are gonna like fiercely defend Israel because they remember Israel in the context of like fleeing the Holocaust and for a lot of them,
it's worse than that.
Are you talking about the evangelicals? For a lot of them, it's about prophecy. For a lot of them, it's about biblical script.
You know what? A magnet on my grandma's refrigerator said, "It said my God's a Jewish carpenter." All right. They fucking mean that shit. They're ready. Those old folks, you talk to a 70-year-old Southern Baptist, he's ready to go over there and dig through that rubble so we can finish somebody off. Like, they love Israel. Okay. Yeah. And they're
literally waiting for the end of times. And that's a not insignificant amount of Americans where they support Israel for that explicit reason. But for a lot of old people, like it's like a cultural, like, it's just, they're a product of the times in Israel. That was like a big fucking deal in 1948 when the United Nations partitioned that land. It was seen as like, it's huge for them.
When did they bomb our ship? Was that 64?
Are you talking about the Gulf of Tonkin right now?
No, that's Vietnam false flag. I'm talking about when the Israelis attacked that United States naval vessel and like bombed it.
The USS Liberty.
Yeah. Well, was that 64?
50s or 60s.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Whoops.
67.
67.
Yeah.